In Salem, the town made famous by the witch trials of the 17th century. The joke around Salem is, if Cabot's elected, she'll move her office to the old Salem witch house and handle her enemies by casting a spell on them. That's considered high humor in Salem.
I am a witch, and I have a right to run for office, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not running as a witch, I'm running as a person.
The current mayor thinks Cabot would be good for Salem. He said having a witch for mayor is bound to attract more.
Did anybody win? Wilson Van Alst reports on Project Crack.
At the Valencia Gardens housing project, some people still hide from the camera. But on many buildings, there is a recent coat of paint. And a few apartments have been emptied, apartments where police say drugs used to be used and sold. There are signs the war against drugs in the projects has started. There are signs it has a long way to go.
General observations, where they've observed drug sales.
It has been 2 months now since Mayor Feinstein announced a doubling of the San Francisco Police Narcotics Force and a major drive against drug dealing in the city, especially in the city's cocaine-infested housing projects.
In 2 months, I want to see a cleaned up situation. I want to see the dealers out. I want to see the kids out playing, clean projects, some tenant organizations, and power to the good people.
By all accounts, 60-year-old Mary McAllister is one of the good people. She has lived in Valencia Gardens for a long time. She says the drug crackdown has done little to change power in the projects.
They've had 60 days about on this thing. Making any progress?
Some progress, but some not. And they take them in and then they release them. And I can't get no sleep at night. For the noise, fighting, beatings up on guys, robbing them, coming down the sidewalk, in the passageways, out in the yard.
At the Sunnydale housing projects, the scene is even more bleak. Ellen Mason says the net result of the mayor's drug crackdown so far is minimal.
I think the mayor's heart was in the right place. I think she really and truly had good intentions, and I honestly believe that she meant well, but she really didn't know the scope of what's happening here. It's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. I wish it was, but it's not. And the sad part about it is it really hasn't made a great impact.
This is what has happened since the crackdown began. San Francisco police narcotics officers have made more than 1,000 arrests. They have seized some $160,000 of alleged drug dealers' money, and they have found and confiscated at least 52 illegal guns. The cynical view is there will be other dealers to replace the ones in trouble. The cynics say in some areas there is as much tolerance for dope as there is opposition to it. And while Helen Mason complains that police haven't done enough, this woman says they've gone overboard, arresting her teenage son for dealing crack cocaine, so-called hubbas.
And you saying they planted dope on him when they took him away?
They put 36 hubbas on my son.
How'd that happen?
When they got him in the car.
Any chance that your 15-year-old son is dealing drugs?
I can't say what my kids are doing when I leave them. I don't put nothing past them. They're no better than nobody else. I tell them what they do. If they do it, it's wrong, and just be able to accept the consequences.
Helen, you ever get the feeling you're out here all alone?
Yes, when I step up front. But I know there's a lot of good people here. I know there's more good than it is bad.
Who's good and who's bad? Who is the judge? The mayor ain't the judge. She don't come out here and sleep. She's living in a big mansion. She got big money. She got food. She got the whole 9 yards.
Are you saying that it's okay for drug dealers to be in the neighborhood? I don't know. I'm trying to get you.
I can't say. I'm not the judge. Whatever it takes for a person to live and take care of their family, that's what I'm saying is okay. It ain't what you do, it's how you do.
I have a granddaughter, and I want her to have a chance in life. I don't want her to grow up thinking that this is easy money, or this is cool being on the corner, or this is, that's the kind of car I want, and I want to get it at 18 or 16. I want her to have some values. And like I said, just because you live in public housing don't mean you have to live any kind of way. And I always believe it's not where you live, it's how you live.
The Parkview East Apartments in San Francisco's Western Division is a breeding ground for drug abuse. It's crammed with low-income single-parent families, adults without jobs, children without hope. Police say inside this public housing complex are several drug factories manufacturing crack, a highly potent form of cocaine. Kids as young as 8 use crack and sell it on the street. Crack is cheap and deadly, and its use among public housing residents is out of control, according to the San Francisco Health Department's Dr. Wayne Clark.
Well, reports that we've had in the last 6 to 8 weeks are that virtually every household is touched by the problem. And that means either the dealing or the use of crack is affecting every household in every housing project in San Francisco.
Joe Crofton has watched the crack problem explode in San Francisco's public housing units. Crofton, director of the West Side Community Mental Health Center, calls crack addiction a vicious cycle.
Even parents are on the crack. You got younger girls having kids, 13, 12, 14 years of age. They're having kids themselves. So by the time their child is 8, 9, and they're on crack, the parents are still on crack. So it's a drug family.
And even more alarming to health officials, the early experimentation with crack and other drugs, coupled with a dramatic increase in the number of AIDS cases among minorities.
You've got potential high sexually transmitted disease rate in these communities, and you've got drug abuse, then you've got a potential vector of an epidemic with AIDS that's crossing into the crack phenomena.
Drug abuse in public housing has become a national problem, so much so that next month the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency, HUD, will conduct public hearings here in San Francisco and a number of other cities. The purpose, to find a way to make public housing drug-free. It's a goal that many experts say will be impossible to achieve. Bob Serkin, News Center 4.
What's going to happen next, because you hear them outside hollering, snitch, snitch, we will get you.
The Hollands say their problems all started 3 weeks ago. That's when Mr. Holland's name and picture appeared in the newspaper. He was being honored by Mayor Feinstein for turning in a vandal whom he'd seen marking up seats on a Muni bus. Philip Holland says drug dealers in the housing project where he lives think he's a snitch now, and he says there are too many of them to fight.
You can see them all night long. They wave down cars right in front of my house, and they run right up to the cars and sell them drugs right there in broad daylight, at night, whatever time, it doesn't matter.
City officials have offered to do what they can to protect the Hollands and help them move.
We're not just going to roll over and let the thugs and gangsters take over our city. This can't happen.
Philip Holland is still proud of the testimonial he got from the mayor, but he says if he had to do it over again, he might not be such a concerned citizen.
Knowing what I know today, I don't think so. It's a pretty high price to pay.
In San Francisco, Sandra Stricker, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Phil Holland hopes to move out of town soon. He says he doesn't want to go to another housing project in the city because he feels that the dealers would just follow.
Money problems of a different sort. Mayor Dianne Feinstein said today that federal money to help San Francisco fight its drug war is clogged in a bureaucratic pipeline. Unless this line is cleared and the money flows, she said, the city will lose its battle. Here's Bob Serkin.
San Francisco's war on drugs, an uphill battle which this year will cost $25 million in enforcement, addict treatment, and public education. Last year, Congress appropriated $687 million to help financially strapped cities such as San Francisco fight the drug war. But according to this study by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, San Francisco and 41 other drug-ridden cities have yet to see much of that money. For instance, of $225 million designated for drug law enforcement, only Washington, D.C. has received any of it, $800,000 worth. Instead of sending the drug funds directly to cities that need it the most, the government dispenses it through state agencies. The California Office of Criminal Justice and Planning is about to release $11 million of federal drug money. San Francisco is among 100 cities and counties competing for it. Mayor Feinstein is counting on $1 million grant to step up her drug war.
The time is really now. We have a major battle going against narcotics, doubled police manpower, making about 1,200 arrests a month, and we need to be able to sustain this.
Mayor, can you sustain it without that $1 million grant?
We're going to have a hard time, to be very frank with you.
And experts say what federal money has arrived in the past has often been too little and too late. San Francisco Health Department's Dr. Wayne Clark.
I was just on the phone to somebody about the crack problem in our housing authority. It's just horrendous. And we don't have the resources to deal with it. And when we do try to get them, they're a year late. So it's frustrating.
Next week, the state will announce which cities qualify for the federal drug war money. Then it may take another 3 months to get it delivered. Bob Serkin, News Center 4, San Francisco.